What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so I had this totally different video set up for this afternoon, talking about, it was the left, this long op-ed explaining why Donald Trump calling Kamala Harris a communist is invalid. Oh, he should be ignored on that. We don't have any communists in this country. It was lovely. It was great. And if y'all want me to cover that, y'all let me know down in the comment section. I'll cover it. But I came across this look, we'll just get into the damn headline. Now, y'all check this out. Shocking. DHS docs expose Biden's release of illegal alien convicted sex offenders into the U.S. Okay, so this is something that has been reported. It's been alleged for a very, very long time, and somebody finally got their hands on the documents from FOIA requests. It took the Trump administration to come in to actually get the tools necessary, if you will, or the people in positions of power to be able to release the information that we've been seeking for years, right? Once again, Dr. Phil talked about this a while back, right? Talking about that actual CBP agents knowingly release children into sex slavery, for goodness sakes. And it's absurd. So this is kind of some of the proof of that. But let's get into this, y'all. This is fascinating. I've also got a clip to show you guys of the actual person that did the FOIA request, and they got all the information, and their freaking socks were blown off. Let's get into this, though, yeah? For many years, many have suspected that the Biden administration deliberately allowed criminals to enter the U.S. through lax border policies. Now, once again, transparency alert right off the jump. This is coming from Blaze Media, conservative review, if you will. So this is not left-wing news. This is not the Associated Press. This isn't The Hill or any like Daily Kos or anything like that. This is right-wing news. But, you know, it doesn't really matter. But I'm just letting you know that this isn't left-leaning biased. This is right-leaning biased, if you will. But, you know, the facts are the facts. Can't get around the facts. A breaking report has just revealed that it's true. The Biden administration knowingly released illegal immigrant convicted sex offenders into the nation. To get the scoop on this bombshell report, Sarah Gonzalez spoke with journalist Brenna Morello, host of the Brenna Morello Show, who just yesterday unveiled exclusive U.S. Department of Homeland Security documents obtained through a lawsuit documenting the release of convicted sex offenders into the United States. What we're now learning in the Biden regime released convicted sex offenders into the United States. We know this because the documents that the administration said didn't exist suddenly now exist, says Morello. Yes, so there's been FOIA request after FOIA request on this information, right? The Biden regime, if you want to call it that. I know that's kind of a partisan word, but we'll say the Biden administration were notorious for ignoring FOIA requests, folks. These people did not care about transparency whatsoever. And this is a bad thing when it comes to administrations, right? The Trump administration is being very apparent, apparently, right? They are open, they are honest, they're allowing all these new media outlets to come in, right? They're allowing a bunch of people in access to the president himself. We're finally getting these FOIA requests coming out, and they're being a lot more transparent than the Biden administration was. The Biden administration claimed to be the most transparent ever, but come to find out they weren't, as a matter of fact. They were not, right? With the spying on American citizens, the silencing of voices online, the Biden administration was abso-freaking-lutely the worst administration in American history. But let's keep going, then we're going to run that clip here in a second. The documents Morello refers to are a series of forms that were used to process illegal alien convicted sex offenders before their release into the country. The first form required these criminals to register for a sexual deviancy counseling program within 14 days of them being released into the United States. The second form required them to register as a sex offender here in the United States within 7 days of their release. So at least the Biden administration made them register. But once again, these people, they're criminal aliens, for crying out loud. They're undocumented migrant, but they're not migrants, by the way. But, you know, this is just absurd. Why? Why would the Biden administration do this? This is insane, in my opinion. You're going to release known criminals Like some of the worst of the worst, because this is some of the worst crime a person could commit. This is utter evil. They allowed evil people into the country. On purpose, folks. On purpose. That's what that means. This was done on purpose. And as a result, we've seen a wave of criminal alien criminality just spike under the Biden administration. It has been a hellscape for many places, for many people. Right? There are people that lost their freaking lives because of the Biden administration's open borders, let everybody come in policy. It is utterly insane. And now with the Trump administration, at least we have a secure border. We still have the Democratic apparatus trying to stop these very people from being deported, yelling and screaming about due process. Which it's all a big lie, folks. The whole due process thing. Notice they don't ever expound upon what that due process is. They never do. Why? Because there's not much to spell out, if you will. It's not much there at all. You pretty much get an interview with a CIS agent, then you get booted out of the country. All right. Now, if you're an asylum seeker or you get a visa or a green card, that's a totally different story. You get your day in court. But these people knowingly releasing these people into the country is one of the most evil acts a United States president has ever allowed to take place. So what does that tell you, folks? Either Biden is just utter evil or Biden was not running the country. I think both might be true. You might think, well, that can't be true. Think about that for a second. Well, let's keep going. Also, in these documents is a checklist for supervisors who are going through each sex offender to verify that they've done what they should be doing according to the Biden administration. And it also includes contacting the victims or the witnesses of the crime that took place and making sure that they're aware that these individuals have been released into the United States. Morello explains, which is insane. Check this out.
Actual crime that took place because they're convicted, and making sure that they're aware that these individuals have been released into the United States. So that's what Joe Biden was working on. He was making sure that terrorists were being released into our country and convicted sex offenders were as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to I want to make sure to like really, really hone in on, I don't think that it can be overstated, that they clearly knew, DHS knew that these people were sex offenders. And they said, it's okay, because they're going to sign a document and they're going to super duper pinky swear that they are not going to do it anymore. And they're going to sign up as a sex offender. And we're just going to take their word for it. Like that's actually what was happening.
Yeah. And they thought by making them go to sexual deviance classes, I don't know if they were in person or virtual, probably remote, given what the history of the administration was, of course, that they were somehow going to be productive members of society. They're just looking to seek asylum. That's it. It's so absurd in itself that they allowed this. But the only reason, and keep this in mind, Sarah, the only reason why I have this is I'm suing TSA still to this day. I'm suing TSA because they ignored my FOIA requests. And all I was asking TSA for were documents that verified who these people were before they were able to board commercial flights. As you know, illegal aliens were able to board commercial flights during the Biden administration without driver's licenses or any IDs. And we just allowed them to get on these planes. And I asked, because they said specifically that there was DHS documents that they were able to hand over to the to the TSA agents to board these flights. So I asked for a copy of what documents they permitted, and this was one of those documents. So documents that pretty much exposed them for being sex offenders were A-OK for commercial airlines.
But they initially tried to hide this from you.
Yeah. They told my attorney that they did not have the documents I was requesting, and I intentionally kept it very vague and tried to cast the net over anything that they'd possibly send me. So my request was just for any type of memos, documents, anything related to allowing illegal aliens board commercial airlines.
So it wasn't enough that the Biden administration just allowed these criminals and terrorists to come into the country and roam free. No, that's not enough. We need to give them a ride to anywhere and everywhere they want to go, which is illegal, by the way. They're not supposed to be able to do this. The Biden administration, like I've said, ever since this channel started, for crying out loud, aided and abetted criminal aliens to come in and live their freaking lives out illegally in this country. Right? I do not know why. Weak, milquetoast Republicans did not want to do anything about this at all. No accountability whatsoever. No impeachment for this. Nothing. Of course, once again, they knew that, the impeachment wasn't going to get over the line. And they're not like Democrats. They're not just going to file articles of impeachment without due process, for crying out loud, which is what Democrats abso-freaking-lutely, they don't care about the law. They don't care about due process, folks. They really don't. They're yelling and screaming about due process when it's convenient for them, but when it's not convenient for them, they could care freaking less. Think about the Trump impeachments, for goodness sakes, of his first term. Absurd. Absolutely absurd. And if it wasn't for a bunch of milquetoast Republicans in the Senate, they would have been successful, y'all. Would have been absolutely successful with zero due process. It really is insane what went on with the Biden administration. And once again, folks, the evidence of all this is in my archives for a lot of it, but it will come out. FOIA request after FOIA request is being fulfilled, and all this information is coming out, and it is quite insane if you ask me. But let's keep going. When Morello submitted Freedom of Information Act requests to TSA to find out if illegal immigrants had been permitted to board commercial flights without standard IDs during the Biden administration, she was ignored. After suing TSA, she eventually obtained the DHS documents, which not only proved that convicted sex offenders were released into the country, but also that TSA agents used their DHS paperwork identifying them as sex offenders to permit boardings. So this is just, once again, folks, why? You got to ask yourself that question. Why would the administration allow this? Why would they be okay with this? Why would they think that the American population would be okay with this? This is utter evil incarnate, y'all. Morello filed the lawsuit in 2024, but only received the documents after the Trump administration took office and a new FOIA officer complied. Wow. That means between DHS, ICE, and TSA, all of these agencies were completely neglecting their oath, and their oath is to protect American people, says Morello. This is another question, folks. Like a lot of these people, right? You can't think that all ICE agents are bad, right? You would think that. But this is another thing where, keeping your head down just because of the administration, is that the banality of evil, in other words? Like, this is insane. A lot of these people should be ashamed of themselves. We never had a single freaking whistleblower come out. We never had anybody raise concerns that this was going on. All we really got was unsubstantiated reports that this was happening, and it was just left up to interpretation whether you wanted to believe it or not. Unsubstantiated reports about this, that when there is mechanisms by which a whistleblower could come forward, bring the documents, bring the information, bring whatever the hell they wanted to, and put this information out there. But did they do that? No. They didn't do that, folks. That is the banality of evil. When you just allow evil to just go right by you and you do abso-freaking-lutely nothing about it. Right? This is why you don't just back the blue no matter who. Right? Because, you say you get a good cop in a small department or whatever. It doesn't even matter. You get a good cop in there seeing a bunch of evil, a bunch of people violating civil rights or whatever it may be, breaking the law, doing whatever the hell they do. And these good cops don't say anything. They're just as bad as those bad cops. Sure, they're not committing the actual crimes themselves. But when they allow people to break and flout our rules and laws, and don't say a damn thing about it, you are allowing our culture, our entire constitutional system to be gutted. You're allowing this to take place. We need to be the front lines on this. Once again, folks, there are bad cops out there. Definitely bad cops out there. This is why we don't just say back the blue regardless. No, I'm sorry. It's not just back the blue around here. There are definitely bad cops out there, and there are definitely good cops that allow bad cops to get away with doing evil in this country, folks. And I think a lot more people need to have a spine and stand up to this, to root this evil out of there, because if we can't trust our institutions will crumble eventually. under the weight of all this oppressive evil that's going on, for goodness sakes. And this right here, folks, this is some of the worst of the worst. And these ICE agents, TSA agents that were allowing this to happen just because the administration said do it. We should have saw waves of resignations, but we didn't. We did not. The Biden administration purposely infiltrated our country with people who they knew would be a danger to American citizens. To me, this is the clear-cut definition of treason, says Sarah. You have people like Laken Riley who lost their lives to these illegal sexual predators, and you have to wonder how many of those people who killed and American citizens were on that freaking list to begin with. That is right. I agree with that. How many people out there have yet to commit these crimes? How many criminals do we have in this country? The estimates are quite high. 20 million at the highest. Well, some people say it's upwards of 30 and 40 million, over the past decades or whatever, all illegal immigrants from the past decades. It's up there. But just over the Biden administration, the numbers are absurd. 20 million just under the Biden administration is the high end on that. Most people place it around 10 to 12 million. I have no idea where it's at. There were so many people that came in illegally, and it's insane to think that all of these people are just people that want a better lives. No, I'm sorry. That is not how reality works, statistically. Like, we know we caught terrorists coming across that southern border. That number shot up under the Biden administration. We had like single digits under the first Trump administration, and then hundreds under the Biden administration. Hundreds, folks. And that's just the ones we know about. That is not even to mention the ones that went undetected. It is utterly insane what the Biden administration did. It really is. And I can't say that enough, to be honest with you, but I think I've rambled on for long enough on this one. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. It blows my freaking mind every single freaking time. Crazy, 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 y'all. We need to stand up to this evil, tyrannical nonsense, y'all. We really do. We need to show these people that they have a support system in the American people, that if they stand up to this evil, they will be backed up by the population. These cops, right? It takes courage to stand in the face of evil and push back and say, no, we're not having any of this. You're going to jail. It takes courage to be able to do that. And we need to fuel these people's lives. Fuel that courage, if you will. Help them to push back on this nonsense, y'all. It's really, really bad. Really is. But y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got on this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, and y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.